Welcome back to Off the Desk. I'm Tom Kelly, host, here with my brother, Steve Kelly, co-host.
Co-host. Can't you be co-host and I'm the host? Or no,
I'm the host,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
You can be co-host. Episode 3, punching them out. Super excited. The first two of, we've getting heaps of feedback and we're really excited about it. So this is number 3 now and we will continue to get the roll on. Today we're going to touch on finance because how can we not? Because we live and breathe it, we love it. But hopefully a bit of value for some of you small business owners or aspiring small business owners. I think we could talk about forever about the entrepreneurship love in the social media world, and everyone needs to be an entrepreneur these days, and sometimes it's not for everyone, which we'll go in shortly. And then we might do a bit of story time at the end, I think. Just a bit of get to know Steve and Tom, maybe some cool stories from the back end. So
Story time. That sounds like a pretty good segment.
Yeah, let's do that.
Nice.
Yeah, so make sure you think of a story.
I've got it. Life lessons for small businesses.
We're going to do this thing again?
Yeah. So if you can't see us, I did some nice box sort of shaping.
Yeah.
As 3.5 years in
Yep.
now, so there's some experience here. We don't have as much experience as everyone else, of course, or others who have been running businesses for much longer. We appreciate, but here we'll share our key ideas, what we think about day to day. Should you start a small business? Should you not start a small business? What's your goal? What are you trying to get out of this? Why do it? 9 to 5, perfect for many. I think the entrepreneurial and social media has a lot to explain or justify answer for itself. One of them is the entrepreneur, plastering the entrepreneurial, approach or mindset or life ambition for people, which just doesn't suit everyone. Yeah, it looks really nice in a 10-second snip of here's the day in the life of a high achiever. You're lucky on the day you achieve something, but they forget about the hard work for the years in behind it before the lucky day that you finally achieve something. So if you're willing to work hard, probably a really great life for you in that small business role, but not for everyone. So
what do they say? The harder you work, the more likely you're to be lucky, or the when you work really hard, you get lucky. That's the kind of thing it is. And
absolutely,
you're an overnight success, but what about the 30 years that you've been battling for?
Definitely, all they cheer for you on the way up, and then you're lucky when you finally get to the top. So,
or one of our favourite sayings, which is a little lame, but everyone wants to be a beast until it's time to be a beast. Everyone wants that life, but how you actually get there is a little different. Not everyone wants that.
They don't. So let's dive in. Why would someone start a small business?
Yeah, I think on the surface level, I think people start a small business because they want to be their own boss, because they think they can earn more money, and because then they can maybe build something. That's to me, that's the 3 main reasons. I think it's funny because those 3 reasons, you're not going to get any of them for years and years, which is something we've had to learn, from our personal experience. I think when we started the business, we did a few loans and we were doing well, and we didn't have heaps of expenses, no staff, nothing like that. And we were like, man, we're killing it. This is it. We're making it rain. Let's go. And quickly that changes when you do run a business, because there's a few more things around upkeep and expenses and everything else that I'm sure you can love to talk about. So you can deal with that. But whether it's want to be your own boss, so you get the flexibility and the time, which basically means you don't have to work 9 till 5. You can actually just work 5 till 10. 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the flexibility of work hours when you're running your own small business. So
wake up till sleep.
yeah.
And it is like that on some days. Maybe not every day, but what do you, a part of me is, if you're about to start a small business and you're going to give up your 9 to 5, I love a side hustle's great, but sometimes moderation's for cowards. If you're going to dip into something, you go
it's a bold statement you're just throwing out there. Yeah.
I thought I'd pass straight by so people could just absorb it.
No. Moderation is for cowards. Is what Steve just said.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Kind of how we live. Well, I live my life, and I know there's a lot of you in that as well. Is if I'm in, I'm all in. It's not I don't dip my toe in something. Yeah. My running career, if it's not the longest possible run possible that I keep failing at, I'll keep trying until I succeed. Yeah. That's why I'm here today. As long as possible. So I think side hustles are awesome. Don't get me wrong, good way to start something. Keep your 9 to 5, that's nice and secure. But if you're going all in, what's the goal and what are you willing to give up to get to that goal? Because you're going to have to give things up. And we talk about family, fitness, finance being our small business. Like, what are you willing to go up on the family front? What are you willing to go up on the fitness front if you need to as well to achieve that business goal? Or are you not willing to give that up? And you have to accept where the time and effort and energy is going to go. So like on day one, what's the goal?
Yep.
And like, what are you willing to give up
Yep.
to do this goal? And if you've got a bit of that in your head, then I think go for it, like dive in. And then what are you solving? Like when you start a small business, yeah. So if you're just creating another business that everyone else is already creating and you're going to produce the same product that everyone else is already producing, then you're not really solving. So you might be a price taker if we're trying to get into those wonderful university degrees that I have and the all the things I try and remember from those days, which is very minimal. So you'll take the price. So you're not going to be able to name it, or you're creating something new that people don't have. There's a demand for it that people don't know about. Like there's a whole, that's the different parts of the business. But like us, we're not the first mortgage brokers in the industry. We won't be the last mortgage brokers in the industry. Like there wasn't a demand for more mortgage brokers directly, but we knew we could provide really great like service and experience for people. And we had really good connections. So we kind of came in, that was our competitive advantage as we entered our industry. So like know your competitive advantage. And we say this from a point of view of like, we didn't think about those. We didn't have a plan.
No.
We had like a rough forecast of like, this will probably work. And our mindset was like, we've done this well in the backs in a role of like a regular salary. Let's go out and we'll do it well because we can do it well in the bank. So therefore we can do it well by ourselves.
Which was a steep learning curve.
Which was crazy. And so we knew one lending product in and out from our banking days.
Yep.
And we learned all those other lending products immediately in our experience in the market. Yes, we knew them in a broad sense, but the learning curve was huge from both like professionally, but also how to run a business at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's heaps of chat around your role in a business as a small business owner, and you've got to wear every hat. You know, I think we were fortunate because we had two of us to try and share a bit of hats around, you know, if you want to share some hats. But, you know, as a business owner, you've got to be...
Just speaking about hats before you get on, that was our first business idea before we became mortgage brokers, wasn't it? So we did try the hats thing.
TS running.
TS running didn't really take off.
No, but we've got heaps of hats if anyone wants any.
If anyone wants a hat, reach out.
A free hat.
We've got so many hats. We might just start giving them out
They're
to people.
colourful. They're pretty cool.
Pretty cool. We thought, you know, what we like running, therefore hats will be really successful at. So probably like think a little bit deeper than that when you starting a business.
What did we buy, 1,000 hats off the bat?
We bought a lot of hats.
Yeah.
But we knew we could be mortgage brokers, thank goodness. So
yes, well, we had a finance experience.
We did have great experience.
But being really good at lending doesn't mean you're going to be a really good business owner. Being a really good broker doesn't mean you're going to be a really good business owner. Because there's so much more than that, having that technical skill set compared to what we're now. We're leaders, we're brokers, we're CFOs, we're CEOs.
We're both CFOs, do you think? Or
you're a CFO and I'm a CEO. Chief Frugal Officer, as I like to call you,
100%.
And Chief Energy Officer, as I like to call me. But they're really important roles. Whereas when you go, all right, I can lend money, I can do deals, I can do broking, which again we probably couldn't when we started because we had to learn how to be brokers from our banking experience, and then morphing somehow into all the other hats that you need to wear to run a successful business. Which I think it was something that I don't think we really addressed until we had to
address it.
Yeah.
And you're right, like the technician
is
a key role, and we almost always learn how to be technicians, whether we're 9-to-5ers or we're taking out that small business mindset role. But that technician doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good people leader or that you're going to be good at managing a business, or you can be a great technician and maybe that's where your strength lies and you should stay as that great technician. When you go and run a business, you got to think about everything else all at once.
Yeah.
And how you spend your time then becomes even more important to try and continue the technician stuff, because if the revenue doesn't come in, then there's no business. But if all the other things aren't done, then there's no business at the same time. So where do you spend your time?
Yeah, which we're like down this track still learning, you know, of how to best spend our time, because being technicians, which we're good at, drives the revenue, which is, I don't know, one of the most important, if not the most important aspect in a business. You have to have revenue to be able to continue to keep the lights on and talk in microphones and talk to each other on cameras, you know, that's important. Yes, here we are. But then you've got to do all the other stuff. And you know, I think that comes back to your goal, right? And where you want the business to go, where you want you to go. And like, good luck doing a plan for 10 years time. Like, that's super hard, but you could probably look at 3 to 5. You could definitely look at 12 months. You could definitely look at 6 months and like break it down, right? So if you have a goal in 5 years, I want this much revenue, I want this much staff, I want this much clients, whatever it is and whatever business you're doing, then go, all right, well, what does that look like in 4 years? And what does that look like in 3 years? What does that look like in 2 years? And break it all the way down to what have I got to do today to just get to that next milestone. Don't think about the 5 years. You know, it's like when you're at the start of a race, of a 100-mile race, you're not going, oh, yep, there's a 100-mile, that's my finish line. You know, you break it down to each checkpoint. And then my recent run I did with you to 300 meters of running, 300 meters of walking, 300 meters of running, you know, to get there.
And even less, to the next tree.
Yeah, to the next tree,
To that rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100%.
But like, that is a business sense as well, where you've got to break down those smaller steps when you're operating. And if you want in 5 years to have 20 staff, then you better develop some leadership skills real quick, because you'll need that to manage those staff. Otherwise, they're not going to be happy, they're not going to make you revenue, or they're not going to stick around.
Yeah, which is all important, because otherwise the revenue stops. So yeah, I think that end goal is really important. Step back's important. Maybe do that on day one, but like be prepared to change it heaps. I think your 6 to 12 month part's super important, because it won't stay. You'll learn as a person as you're doing what you need to improve on or change as you're going. Just be open to it. Like it'll be a wild ride that you'll learn every day where you need to spend more of your time, and you'll become pigeonholed if you don't step back. You know, balcony for the dance floor. As we've been taught, with one of our key ideas in our space was to introduce a board really early on, because we knew we were spending, our focus was on revenue, which is a very valid focus for small business owners, but you need people that help you with strategy. And we implemented a board, which was just our dad and our uncle, who had great experiences in the corporate world. Pretty qualified.
They're our dad and uncle.
Their dad and uncle, but we knew, and they come at no cost, which is also super important for a small business to manage.
There's a bit of mental cost from us, though.
There's definitely some mental and emotional cost that goes involved, but we and they wanted to, like they were willing to give their time freely to help support us in the growth of this family business. So implementing, and look, it might not be family members, maybe everyone doesn't have access. We're fortunate to have access to that, but it could be a coach, it could be a mentor of sorts. Have someone, if you can, that sits outside of your business that will give you unbiased, like open feedback about your, like where you are in the journey. And like, they'll remind you, you said this, therefore why aren't you doing this? And yes, your world will change and your focus will change, but having a third party to keep you onto that strategy, super important.
Yeah, and even build the strategy, you know, like, because one of their first questions was like, oh, you know, where are you going to get your business from? And we famously said now in the board, as everyone laughs about, is like, we live on hope, right? We hope more deals come in. Now that did pretty well for a long time.
It did well. And maybe to add context to the hope line is like, if we do a good job for someone, they'll refer a friend. That was our idea. Is like, we'll just look after people, and they'll
Everything will work out.
It'll be the ecosystem, and they'll just keep referring in. And like, that's kind of how we built our banking careers. And
yes.
We assumed we could replicate that, and we could, but if you want to grow quicker and help more people, then you've got to think about other means for bringing in more business.
Rather than just hope.
And just hope.
Yes, but hope, you're right. It's not really the right word, but it's a laugh in
It
our
was a good
circle.
word, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So have someone outside of your business that you can relate to, that will give you that super honest feedback. Because the amount of times we go to a board meeting and we get not shredded, but like, you know, a little bit of like, hey guys, you said this, and we're like, yeah, but you don't get the day-to-day stuff. But like, their job is not to care about the day-to-day stuff, like what we go through here and there, because a certain challenge or a market or something's gone up or we lost a staff member, whatever that might be. Their job is that bigger picture, and they always keep us online, and we wouldn't be where we are today without that advice that we've received.
100%. And we still, like, on, you know, not tomorrow, the day after, we're having a roundtable again with our board and another third-party advisor to help us check in, re-strategize, because things are changing. Things are changing quickly. Like, technology is improving and processes change, and you need to be able to move quickly, which is what you can do as a small business compared to a corporate. Like, that's a huge draw card for a small business owner, is that you can move quickly. When something changes, you can adapt your processes. So always be open to that, and have a third party to help you. I think if we reflect on what leads us to what we think about every day, we put it into 3 categories, really. I'm going to throw in a 4th, which I think you'll understand as I throw it in. But our 3 focuses were always leads. Where are the clients coming from? Which if you're any business, you should be thinking about where your clients are coming from and
Yeah.
like how you can grow more or how you can look after the same client again. Like it's different for different businesses, but where are the clients coming from? Because you've got to sell your widget to someone. What's the process? From where to go?
We love process.
We love process. When that client comes in, how do we get the client in to end goal in the greatest, most enjoyable experience for them and us? Like we want them to have a great experience, but we want to enjoy what we do at the same time as well. And you can do both if you're thinking about how do we both have this great experience as we process from meeting the client, the settlement, and then ongoing, because our industry is an ongoing relationship. So we're not a transactional only. There's
Or
an
at our
ongoing
brokerage.
relationship. At our brokerage, we might
an
do
ongoing.
that differently to everyone else, but like we guarantee that we'll review your loan at least annually to make sure your interest rate's still appropriate. Like, so there's process built in behind that, so that we check in, and like it's a really nice phone call
Yeah.
to make 12 months on,
Yeah.
2 years on.
Yeah.
3 years on now that we're hitting the 3 year phone calls because we've been here for 3 years. So
Yeah, and often that phone call is like, hey, Tom, we obviously looked after, how's things going? How is it? Look, we've called your bank proactively and we've actually got a discount, and they're like sitting there going,
Wow.
I didn't even ask you to do that. And getting a discount of their rate puts money back in your pocket directly. So
pretty awesome. And like they're like, the bank wouldn't have done this for me. And I'm like, no, of course they wouldn't, because they're driven by revenue, which you can't argue against the bank for that. Like if you're going to sit there and allow your loan to continue as is, then the bank's not going to proactively reduce their interest rates.
And
on your behalf.
the process point, just to quickly add to that as well, is that the client has an amazing experience, full stop, at our brokerage. Doesn't mean everything goes smoothly in the brokerage. Like if you're coming from a small business point of view, like be a duck on water, we talk about that all the time, right? And what I mean by that is I've actually drawn on our whiteboard with our results, a little duck on water. It's not a very good drawing, but it's there because that's super important, because when you're that facing client, you are on top of the water, smooth as, I don't know if you've ever seen a duck swim in water. They're super smooth, right? They're just chilling. They're having a good time. But underneath, they are absolutely pedaling. You can't see that. And that's what we do, right? At the surface level to our clients, everything's perfect. Everything's smooth. You're going to get called in a week. You're going to get the contact in a day. We're going to say, you'll hear from us here. You hear from us here. Everything's going okay. Everything's fine. We might be having a battle with a bank in the background. We might be running to make sure we can get this done, or we might be freaking out about this or doing that, or whatever it looks like, even though the process is set even behind the scenes as a small business owner. What you want to present to your clientele is duck on water, smooth as. So just thought I'd add that, mate.
Greatest possible experience. And absolutely, that's always been our goal. The process starts and ends with the client. And we do that. When we map out our process, which we do frequently, it's always from the client point of view.
Yep.
It's how can we make this more enjoyable or more streamlined or more quick or just overall around from a client point of view. Because I think if you lose, again, that builds the ecosystem. Because if a client has a great experience, they can refer a friend or family. But also then they sit back and go, wow, that was great. And that brings us great joy and great reward, just knowing that someone's enjoyed
and it's good
working
for us
with
too.
us. It's
great for the team.
And the morale, and it brings
People
up
happy.
people.
Yeah.
Good transition to our third one, which we talk about, is people.
Very nice.
Because you may be the sole person when you start your small business, but soon enough you'll need, if your goal is to grow, you'll need people to help you grow.
Yes. Now that is such a in-depth subject that we could talk about for days, people, because they always say when you start a small business, the hardest thing is first to get business, so leads, etc. And then from then on, once you've got business, is people. That's the hardest thing. We've, touch wood, we've hired the right people, right? And that might be because of what we represent, because of what we're about, and our culture, quotation marks for those playing at home. I don't really like the word culture, but how I define culture is if you come to work and you're happy or excited, or you don't hate your job, you enjoy your job. That's a good culture, right? And that's what we've built, because we wanted to make sure that it doesn't end up like a toxic corporate area might end up. That it's an enjoyable place to come and work, because you spend a lot of time at work with your staff and with your bosses. So make sure it's a good place to come to work. Now, I'm not saying that our business has been perfect. We have lost staff. We have lost staff in the past for one reason or another. At the moment, we're sitting at about 11 people, give or take. Yep. So we've still got plenty of bums on seats, and our team is they're rock stars. They're awesome. They make us look good, and that's what's important. But when you are hiring someone, don't hire someone to replace you, because that's going to be next to impossible, because they don't own the business. They don't have the same drive that you have, and don't expect them to have that. Yeah. Hire someone who's going to do a job that you need done, of course, because of your growth, but don't expect them to have the same drive or the same outcome or same results as you do as a business owner, because you just, unless you're going to give them 50% of the business, then maybe you could expect the similar level. But if you're going to keep all the ownership, which, you know, everyone has their own opinions on, then don't expect that from your employee.
100%. And like, we're big fans of Dan Martell.
Yes.
And he talks about which job you should offload first. So like the admin function is one that people should offload first. So it could be simple as like a bookkeeper. If you're punching your own things into Xero, that's probably time you could save by offloading that. PA is normally the next go-to if someone's, you know, helping read your emails. What designs your day? And like, this is different for different industries, but what's the task that you can remove so you can do more of the creative stuff?
Yes.
Like his quotes are always like, you know, if it brings me joy,
Yep.
or if it's something I'm good at that
requires my unique set of skills.
My unique skill set, then I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll outsource it. Don't go to that extreme straight away, because you need certain revenue to be able to pay that.
He doesn't even put fuel in his own car.
He doesn't put fuel in his own car,
because he doesn't want to do that. So one day we could get there.
And he has someone at home who knocks on his door at 10 a.m. to give him his green smoothie. Like, there's a real extreme end of this, but I don't think you need the extreme end straight away. I mean, he's fascinating to watch. That's a man who plans out every minute and has, like, I think, listen to it because it could be the end goal for you. Dan Martell, there's a book, heaps of podcasts. You can't miss him. He's quite a legend.
Buy back your time.
Buy back your time. Brilliant concept. And I think that's what the first people approach should be. Buy back your time. And a small business, you should redirect that time for more growth or more clientele, more opportunity in the first instance. Maybe the second hire gives you more time to spend with family and beyond. But like, if you're trying to get to a level of sustainability, that first one should probably be more growth, more clientele. And you'll probably continue to service that clientele. That, you know, then you outsource marketing, which I'd recommend. You find some great guys, Outcast Media, to help you with marketing. Because again, that's not a skill set we have to do, and a skill set most people won't have unless you're opening a marketing agency. Then you would have that skill. So outsource, you know, advertising, and then the final one is really outsourcing the revenue producing items. And like, that's a bit of a trickier one to outsource because you got to the right people, like you said. Are they going to buy into the same extent you are? No. Should you ask them to know? At what level can you expect them to buy in? And like, maybe it's luck. We don't believe in luck, but we've got great guys in our business that are generating, you know, doing a lot of client work,
generating revenue
that aren't owners, and doing great jobs at it as well. So I think that's about the cultural build and what you ask of people and how you set up this being a place that people want to come to. So you've got to be aware of that. And like, controversially, we're a no work from home policy.
Yes, very controversial.
Which is very, especially in this post-COVID world where it's still hard to get everyone back in the offices in many of those corporate roles, because we wanted people to come in, enjoy it, share ideas and learn. Like that was the culture. Like, if we wanted to bring people in who didn't have the experience, because we knew we could teach them. We just needed the right attitudes and the right day-to-day push to be better and to that real client passion. Like, we picked those things in the interviews with people, which is why I think we've hired really well.
Yeah, or lucky.
Yeah, or lucky, you know, because we knew we could train you how to do finance. Like, base knowledge is kind of cool, but some have come in without much base knowledge, and we've taught them none. And we've taught them on there, you know, like how a credit card works, what's a home loan. Like, we can teach you the base and build you up to be a broker if that's what your goal is. But attitude's hard to teach. Yes. So like, picking that attitude is more critical. So outsource the easy things to outsource. And it might not be a person in your business. It might just be outsourcing to another business.
Yeah. Or
a combination.
VA and offshore, and like, there's all sorts
so many options now these days. So save your time. You can't do everything. You'll max out and then you'll blow up if you try and do it all, which we've gotten very close to doing.
Oh, I think we've blown up.
We've done that a few times. Anyway.
Yes, but here we are.
So I'm not sure where the edge is, but I'm still trying to find it. Or maybe I've stepped over it.
No, you have found it.
I found it and I've stepped over it, and I'm just working my way back in. So the last one I'd say is business management, which we may not talk about. That's number 4, I reckon. And like, I group that into how the finance works, how cash flow works, and how you do have to pay tax and super and allow for that. And that can be quite annoying as a small business owner.
Ever heard of BAS?
Ever heard of BAS? Goodness. Oh my goodness, quarterly. Now monthly, they expect you to pay PAYG to the government. Anyway, that's a whole ordeal. Finance is like critical because people don't think about when the expense is made versus when you get the income. So these are different. Yep. This is what cash flow is, which is a lot more important in like a business finance world than a commercial finance world. But if you think about it from yourself on a personal perspective, if we cut it away from business, you get your pay fortnightly, monthly, more common, and you've got to pay for things outside of that fortnightly or monthly cycle. Do you have your pay before you need to pay for it, or do you have your pay after you need to pay for that item? And that's what a business has to handle as well. Same concept of when do I get the revenue from the client and when do I need to pay for the output that generates me the revenue. So this is cash flow. So you may need a core amount in the business which restricts your growth, and that's where business finance, solid plug for Steve, comes in, and we can help bridge that gap because that can be really important in the growth phase. But even in the startup phase, you've got to be thinking about like CapEx items, laptops for most professions. If you're starting like a cafe, that's a huge fit out cost for you to get in before you start generating revenue. So you need to think about what outputs help you generate the revenue, where you get the finance to do that. And it might just be your 50 grand that you've had saved goes into the business, which is what we did when we started. We had savings and we tipped it in to help get the capital items we needed to generate revenue.
Yep.
Thankfully, broking's pretty low because you need a laptop and a few licenses.
Yes,
So
but I think people listening there might be a few brokers listening and business owners, and I think that in their terms, when you spend time with a client for 2-3 weeks, and then you lodge an application for a week, and then you get it approved for another week, and then settlements in 3 weeks later, and then you get that commission paid to you the month after that it's settled. So there's often the 3-month cycle of you putting in your time, which is the output, right? That's the input of the cost, I guess. Yeah, like our time as brokers is what is our
or
value.
staffing costs. Then when you get to that next standpoint, that's you're paying wages. We pay wages fortnightly.
Yes.
We get our revenue monthly, and like you said, there's a 3-month lead in for a lot of our revenue.
Often 3 month. Yeah,
you've got to be managing cash flow. In the meantime, you've got rent that's due monthly.
Yep.
BAS. So you got to hold your
and
GST
employees need
payments.
salary.
Employees
apparently
won't work without salaries. So,
pretty annoying,
which is crazy, and regularly as well.
Yeah.
Like every time you got to pay them in full.
So ridiculous.
On top of that, so cash flow is critical. Understand BAS understand requirement. Get a good accountant. Set yourself up with a structure straight away. So get a good accountant. I want to say it again because you should set up a structure that helps you for the end goal.
Yep.
So sole trader, partnership, company trading with a trust, heaps of structures. We are not tax advisors.
No.
But we've set up a lot of
bit.
personal structures ourselves that we've put in place with accounting advice to help us set up the appropriate those to protect you personally, but also to help from a tax minimization perspective. No one wants to pay more than they have to. You've got to pay some tax. No one wants to pay more than they have to. The right structure will help you with that minimizing tax cost. So come the end of year, when you're first year trading, you'll know what you're up for from a tax perspective. That's kind of powerful, and it helps the cash flow.
Yeah, and cash flow is king. Or cash is king, but cash flow is king.
It is.
Yeah, you run out of money, you're cooked.
You are.
It's not going to be a fun time.
If you cannot pay your bills, people will stop working for you, and you will run out, and it won't be fun.
Yes.
So cash flow is king. I think that's a critical one that people don't think through, and that's where the forecasting comes into play. Like we do joke in like the business world, all we really know about a forecast is that it'll be wrong because it'll be higher or lower. It just definitely won't land exactly where I've said it will. But generate one yourself, understand what your outgoings are, and help that design your targets for how many clients you should look after, what's your break-even points. Just understand
when you should recruit.
When you should recruit. Yeah, there's heaps of levers you can pull. Okay, now I've got the cash flow to outsource admin. Now I've got the cash flow to outsource marketing. Like it might be a nice staged approach. So think about that. Man, with AI these days, you could help produce a business forecast or a business planning document to produce you something pretty special pretty quickly that could help form the basis of that thinking in a pretty succinct way that you could then use to guide you for that initial journey.
Yeah, which is like, it's above and beyond. But to us, it's a baseline. It should be required because it's something we didn't do. Yeah, and something we've only had to reflect on over the last 12 months, really, because we were on such a steep growth journey. And to us, it was like the end journey or the end goal is going to be worth all of this, not pain, but like there's some of the struggles that come through with when you're growing. Sometimes cash flow gets tight, and we knew that it was always going to be okay, but we probably didn't put enough time and effort into the exact forecasting of what we think things cost compared to when we actually get some revenue, et cetera, et cetera. The growth has been amazing in our business and we love it, but now we've got that foundation. It's about really like, being super profitable. Like, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I think as a business, you've got to be profitable to ensure that you can maintain what you've got and then grow again, right? Because to grow, you need extra or surplus cash flow to grow. And once we build that enough, then we're growing again. So get excited for that.
100%. I mean, it's lead in cycles, isn't it? Like you need those points to pause and grow, and grow. And like that's a lot of, it doesn't sort of run linear. It's kind of a stepped approach. And that's about, exhausting the assets you have. Bleeding the assets might be what our board calls it. You exhaust the assets you have and then you add more assets and then continue to grow. So there's like a constant lever pull to help you grow your small business. The only thing I'd add is like when you're about to start a small business, think about like economic profit versus accounting profit. And I mean, economic profit is what could you earn doing this as a salary job versus accounting profit is what the actual net profit is on your profit and loss statement, whatever the end line is document that you're using depending on your structure, and set the accounting profit target. Like if the directors aren't taking home an appropriate salary, what are you really here for? Like it's not going to be sustainable. You need to be remunerated for the work you're doing. If you're not doing that in the small business and the goal's not super financially driven, maybe it makes sense to continue, but it might not if you can't achieve the right level of economic profit, not just breaking even on an accounting standpoint.
Very fancy words now, man. Economic and accounting. Jeez, you lost me. Yeah. So there's money in my bank. Is that's
important?
Good. I like that.
That helps.
Let's stick with that. But I agree. Like end of the day, if you're not making enough money that you could be as an employee somewhere, and there's no other tangible benefit, then look at the mirror and go, what am I doing here?
Maybe, yeah. Like what am I doing 80 hours a week for?
Yeah.
On running a small business that I could be doing 40 hours a week for. So like I think there's what is your personal goal? Like the 9 to 5 isn't a bad option.
Yeah.
Like I think people, social media should fix that image.
I totally agree. Yeah. And like entrepreneurship's not what it's all posed to be, certainly there's some pros and cons around it, but just don't do it just because you want to do it. Don't do it because it sounds sexy and awesome and fun, because man, that shit's hard.
It will get hard. And it will get hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it has gotten hard for us, but we're on the other side and things are pretty awesome. So very good. Any quick, like it's been very detailed, very structural, I wouldn't say negative, but quite like to the like, hey, be careful of this, be careful of that. What about some pros?
Very Steve focused, you mean?
It is. Yeah. Let's look at cup half full. What about some pros of running your own business? Like, let's get excited about what we're doing and why other people should maybe do it. What do you reckon?
Good one. I think social media covers a bit of it, so we'll add some of the social media ones. But I think the freedom it gives you, like with an asterisk, no, only positive, because I'm thinking it takes away a bit of your freedom as well, doesn't it?
It does, but it allows you to maybe work at night and you could go pick up your kid from school.
Absolutely.
Because then you can catch other work at night.
Your hours are your hours. Correct. And like we joke about not having to lodge annual leave forms, and we don't get annual leave. So it's kind of like, where does that work? But the freedom for sure, the financial upside's massive. Like in our time at dealing with banks, we saw the way that Australians typically make money or generate significant wealth is they run a business, a trading business of sorts, industry agnostic, trading business, and then they buy property.
Yep.
And like that trading business is the cash cow, and then they buy property. So we saw wealth creation in this country is typically driven by trading business, property acquisition.
Yeah.
So,
and like you do that employed as well. People are employed with a high salary and they build a portfolio
properties.
So be it. We just saw more of the business ownership side.
And that's the space we were in. We just saw small to medium business owners generate significant revenue and use that to build growth, like to build wealth through property. You can, shares as well, but property was predominantly the Australian way.
Yeah, we love that bricks and mortar.
Can you be as wealthy in a 9 to 5? Like potentially, if you're the CEO of a major bank, which was some of our goals. Otherwise, you could probably generate significant wealth by running a small business and in a service or product-based profession. So the wealth potential is massive. Like that's a massive upside, and that's the real draw card, I think, for most people, is that an ability to create wealth quickly. You're not you're not fixed at a salary that could potentially grow with inflation or not. Your top point is how much revenue you can generate and how controlled on the costs you can be to generate enough profit for real wealth creation. So freedom, wealth creation.
And that doesn't, on the wealth creation, it doesn't mean to take over the world and build an empire. It can mean simply to have enough money to then live well and retire early and spend time with family and friends, and get to that financial freedom state, which could be this much for some people and it could be that much for some people. Everyone's different, You don't all need the Lambos or the fancy houses. Not all of us. I mean, I'll take it. But
not all of us need that. And I don't know if that's like, think about your end goal as well, because like retirement's a funny word.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Again, that's like one of the things we've spoken about earlier in this podcast or in our previous podcast or previous episode, maybe I should say, because it's still the same podcast. I don't want to get technical. That like what's driving you as well, and retirement's like that end state. You enjoy the journey on your way to retirement. So the enjoyment factor could come from not having to work as many hours, still working a certain amount of hours, but being free.
Yeah.
And again, that freedom concept of financial freedom or time freedom. So
And then working like Dan Martell, he does what he wants.
That's what he wants.
But it's work.
Do the aspects you want to do.
Do the aspects of work that you want. And it could be 3 hours and you punt coming in and doing some awesome things that you enjoy, and then you're out playing with the kids or going to see sport or, playing golf. Like it's different. I agree, retirement doesn't make sense anymore. And I think what people think early retirement is, it actually isn't what it's all made up to be, I reckon.
Maybe. Or not. It's not that. It's not the end state.
Yeah.
The state is to get to
and
that
again, don't
journey
look
point.
just for that end goal.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. I think there's a lot of enjoyment in the way. And again, like you probably can't do that in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
As in cut back your hours and continue to earn the same amount of revenue that you probably can. You can, in theory, with a small business running. So, yeah, I think freedom, wealth creation, and like they're probably the two key drivers. I feel like I need a third, and I just can't think of one. So
yeah, no, I haven't got one. Yeah, I mean, like building something you're proud of, maybe other than wealth creation. Like something when your kids grow up and they're like, "Whoa, that's cool."
We did that, yeah,
and that's nothing to do with wealth generation or with freedom.
Impact, like we probably do a bit of that. Like 1% for the planet for us is important. Our charity that we've partnered with, where we give 1% of our top line revenue to charities.
Top line revenue
in Australia, yeah, top line revenue. I thought that should be clear. I don't know.
It is clear.
Assuming most small business owners would think about this. So that was important to us because we want to give back, and there's lots of charities that we're super we're interested in, and we want to make some sort of impact. So I think the family legacy part, like doing something you're proud of, impacting a whole heap of people that are applying for finance that may have had a terrible experience elsewhere that will now have a great experience.
Yeah.
And some sort of charitable giving without wanting to receive something in return, I think has an impact. So got the 3 out in the end.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, and that 1% of the planet stuff's cool, and we never really speak about it. But maybe we should. Maybe we should challenge other small businesses to get involved, because that 1% for planet is 1% of our top line revenue. That goes to like predominantly environmental organisations around saving the world. Hence, for the 1% for the planet in the name. And we look after, like, we partnered with 2 main charities, one being AWC, which is Australian Wildlife Conservatory, and the other one is the Bob Brown Foundation, who mainly look after the Tassie wildlife, which is, a big part of, a big thing that we care about. And that's feel good, right? And making a bit of money allows you to feel good by giving without wanting to receive, even though I like promoting it because it's important.
It is. And it was important in the sense to challenge others, because when
Correct.
we first did it, I didn't want to put it on our emails or anything else, because the idea of us doing that wasn't to generate clients or interest. But you challenged me to say we need to challenge others to do this. And so that's why we promote it as a concept, because we want others to do it.
Yeah.
If everyone did it, imagine the impact we'd have. So we're trying to have an impact, what a special impact to leave if more people do that, because we were doing it.
100%.
Pretty special.
Very good. Well done. Okay, that probably wraps up
I've got one thing.
What do you got?
I wanted to plant this in front of you. We've talked about, particularly aiming at like young people in small businesses and a lot of wisdom that you boys have poured out there. I just wanted to just pop that there and see where the thoughts on that relative to the conversation you guys have just had. And just implications, I suppose.
Yeah, so Will's showing us there the percentage of 30-year-olds with as homeowners and married.
Married and homeowners.
From 1950 to 2025. What are the stats on that?
Pre-age 30, you were 50%. I assume it's for Australia. Australia. The 50% in 1950 of 30-year-olds were both married and homeowners.
Yep.
Now, in beyond 2020, into 2025, less than 15%. It looks like 10% probably of 30-year-olds are both married and homeowners. So less than 10% have done both.
That is wild.
That's epic, man.
Yeah.
And that's why we need more of that.
Like, I didn't know they were like that. Those sort of stats. Of course, it's a downward incline because people are just doing things later in age these days for one reason or another, which we could probably talk about forever. But for it to be that low, why do I feel a little concerned? Do you feel a little bit concerned?
I think it surprises me. Maybe the home ownership part would be fascinating to pull out as well, but I think it's so hard to buy property now relative to what it was, just from where debts are in relation to income. It's massively different.
Yep.
And how much you have to save to get into the market, even with these great 5% schemes, are quite difficult. So cost of living through the roof. It's interesting that interest rates are so low now relative to where they were.
Yeah.
Yet it's so hard to buy property now because of where debt is in relation to income. So
It's not going to change though, you know.
it's sad, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's why when I saw that, I felt a bit down about it. But that's the reality of what we live in. And I think whether or not we could figure out the reasons to why, you know, I believe that people sort of grow up later in life these days. Because, you know, like our parents were married at like 20, or I think mum might have been 20 and dad was 22 or something, which is like when I was 20, I wasn't close to marriage, you know what I mean? And I think that's generation differences, but I think that all plays into a part. Like people living at home still at 30 years old, which is cool. If anyone still lives at home, that's cool. You know, I did it for a while as well, here and there. But I don't know whether or not that there's no stigma around growing up later in life these days, you know. So many of my mates and so many of, I don't know, yours maybe, or like people that I know are either not married for sure, and I'm 33 currently, and don't have kids or anything, and you know that's down the way for them. So there's more of people I know that are my age that don't have kids and that are not married and don't own their own homes compared to do. So that stat preaches to my current area as well. So I don't know, and why that is, I don't know, but I think that's the reality of what we live in. So how do we solve it? Don't know.
Yeah, I think it's obviously harder. Like, and I think the changes we've talked about for the 5% scheme help to an extent, but they help a specific group of people, which isn't going to be everyone, to try and move the needle on that sort of market. But it's been the great wealth creator for Australians.
Yeah.
Property.
Mm-hmm.
So the sooner you can buy a property at any point in the cycle, historically speaking, the better off you are to do it. That's not financial advice. Make your own decisions. Historically speaking, the best time to buy property is every point in the cycle. Buy property, and it's going to be up. You're going to be up in years to come on that point.
Let me even simplify that. The best time to buy property is now.
Is now.
And it always will be.
If you don't have it, buy it now. It seems to pay off. Not financial advice. Please make your own decisions. If you can't buy now, every time you wait, the harder it is to get in. And maybe that's why that curve is so intensely reducing, is that people are waiting and it's getting harder and harder to buy property. Or like it could be the shift in where we want to live and cultural inputs. People would have been happier living further out and commuting than perhaps they are now.
Yeah.
In cities like Brisbane, whereas Sydney's a lot more used to commuting.
Yeah.
Prices are still through the roof, so maybe there's no cause and effect of that connection, but people want to live in certain areas, and to buy in those certain areas is quite difficult. So they're putting off buying. It's pretty sad.
It is. Yeah.
So we need to help more people.
Yes, correct.
There's a solution there.
Yeah. And when people don't know about all these options they have, like saving 200 grand is too hard, so they don't save $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, but saving 30 grand is achievable, but they don't know they can get in from that. So there you go.
Big impact.
All right, should we do a quick segment before we pack it up? I've got two actually. Number one, story time. So I want a story from you.
Sure.
I can maybe lay one too if we need to. And then I just want to get your recommended book of the month. So one book that's cool. I can give one too. Maybe we can do one each. Whether you should listen to it or read it, whatever you want. But something that helps us in this sort of world that people might be interested in. So what do you got?
A book first? Or
Let's do story.
I don't know. Do we have time for both? 60-second story.
60-second book recommendation.
Okay. I'll do the book first.
Okay.
Go again and say the book thing.
So a book that might help people that kind of listen to this. So listen to it, read it. I mean, I don't read heaps of books, but I listen to heaps. So what do you got?
Nice. I'd say there's a couple that have built the foundation for our business. So maybe I'll start with the first one, because that was the first one we kind of read when we were coming along the journey. So Let My People Go Surfing, from Yvonne, the founder of Patagonia, 1% for the Planet charity that we've spoken about. So he wrote it as a book for his staff, internal book. It's like a guideline of what Patagonia stands for. And he sold millions of copies because turns out everyone was interested in what Patagonia stands for as an organisation that's now sold away 90% of its shares kept the voting rights in the family, but it's all for charity. He created a business for the purpose of improving the planet. That was like the sole goal of his. So, an awesome book on culture. Like that's what we knew when we were leaving banks who we no longer aligned perfectly with their cultures. They had moments where we aligned. We wanted to build culture. And I would recommend highly to read that book for people. There's a lot of information about making clothes. So if you want to have a lot of product information, because remember it was written for the Patagonia staff, but the end aspect in particular, when he starts to talk a bit more about in the later chapters about what it stands for, the growth and business more broadly, like phenomenal for people who appreciate culture and what culture does for people more broadly. So
I think a quick example, famously their CEO didn't wear shoes for 2 years or something. Yeah, like they came to the office no shoes on and
no shoes.
They got flex leave to go surfing and
childcare. That's the idea. Then my people go surfing. So if the waves are up,
don't ruin it all.
Yeah. So childcare, like child mining services in the business, like one of the pioneers in that. And then days off for whether it be protesting for saving local waterways or going surfing when the waves are up. Like if you're flexible with your employees, they'll give back to you in more ways than they won't. So
very good.
Good book.
All right, my quick one. I won't take as long as you because you went way longer than 60 seconds there. But my one, which is another pinnacle or foundation for our business, is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Those two guys are ex-SEAL top military operatives. I don't know what they are. Yeah, they were top dogs.
Ex-Navy SEALs.
Yeah, ex-Navy SEALs. And they wrote the book on literally on ownership, on leadership around what they do and what to do and what not to do. And the good thing about that book is they give you live examples or real examples as much as they can of battlefield incidents when they were doing, I can't remember the Ramadi, Battle of Ramadi. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Live examples of things that went well and things that didn't go well there, and then they actually go their next chapter or same chapter, but on the back of it is a same example in a business world of how that affects the business that they're working with because they're now consultants outside of the military. Changing your thought around things that are outside of your control compared to when they're inside of your control and how you can affect that, even if it's not in your control, is just life-changing for us.
It was, more thought of control the controllables.
Yes. But also how much you can control when you take ownership of something.
Love it.
Yeah. Highly recommend. Watch them, read them, listen to them, get around it. That's the two.
Done.
See you next week.
Thank you for this week. Off the desk yet again. Great to have you, Tom. Great to be here, Steve. Looking forward to the next one.
Cheers.
Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.